Poker.
Poker.
Can you play poker?
Poker-faced.
Poker-faced.
A poker-faced officer.
Poker work. Poker work.
Pokey.
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 The whole family was crammed into 2 poky little rooms.
I got behind some pokey driver on the freeway.
Poll.
Paul.
He's just another Washington Paul.
Polack.
Polak.
Polar.
Polar.
As our climate warms up, the polar ice caps will begin to melt.
Ortega's cheerful landscapes are the polar opposites of Miller's dark, troubled portraits.
Polar bear.
Polar bear.
Polarize.
Polarize. Polarity.
Polarity.
The polarity between the intellect and the emotions.
Polarize.
Polarize.
The issue has polarized the country.
Polaroid.
Polaroid.
Pole.
Pole.
A telephone pole.
The distance from pole to equator. Amundsen's expedition was the first to reach the South Pole. Both are brilliant pianists, though they're poles apart in style. We have enormous wealth at one pole and poverty and misery at the other. Washington and Beijing are at opposite poles on this issue.
Polaxed.
Polaxed.
I was polaxed when I heard I'd passed the exam. He staggered and collapsed as if polaxed. He staggered and collapsed as if polaxed.
Polecat.
Polecat.
Pole dancing. Pole dancing.
Polemic.
Polemic.
Before long, the dispute degenerated into fierce polemics.
Polemical.
Polemical.
The reforms were attacked in a highly polemical piece in the New Yorker.
Polenta.
Polenta.
Pole position.
Pole position.
Pole star.
Pole star.
Pole vault.
Pole vault.
Police.
Police.
Police surrounded the courthouse. Quick, call the police! By the time the police arrived, the man had fled. He was arrested by the police for dangerous driving. He plans to join the police when he leaves school.
The army was brought in to police the city centre.
The agency was set up to police the nuclear power industry.
Police constable. Police constable.
Police Community Support Officer.
Police Community Support Officer.
Police department.
Police department.
Police dog.
Police dog.
Police force.
Police force.
Jones joined the police force in 1983.
Policeman.
Policeman.
Police officer.
Police officer.
Police state.
Police state.
Police station.
Police station.
Policewoman.
Policewoman.
Policing.
Policing.
The community is demanding a less aggressive style of policing.
In the last 20 years, the industry has had no oversight or policing.
The policing of the city.
Policy.
Policy.
A foreign policy advisor. The company has adopted a strict no-smoking policy.
Government policy on higher education.
U.S. policy towards China.
It is hospital policy to screen all mothers with certain risk factors.
An insurance policy. There's a clause in the policy that I'd like to discuss. I've just renewed the policy. Does the policy cover theft and fire?
You can take out a policy for as little as $11 a month.
It's always been my policy not to gossip.
Policyholder.
Policyholder.
Policymaker.
Policymaker.
Polio.
Polio.
Poli-sci.
Poli-sci.
Polish.
Polish.
I spent all afternoon polishing the silver.
Polish the lenses with a piece of tissue.
Your essay is good, you just need to polish it a bit. Sam polished off the rest of the pizza. He was polished off with a shotgun blast to the face.
You should polish up your Spanish before you go to Chile.
The company needs to polish up its image.
An occasional polish will keep wall tiles looking good.
Carla's writing has potential, but it lacks polish.
Polished.
Polished.
Highly polished boots. A polished performance.
A polished piece of writing.
A polished and confident man.
Polisher.
Polisher.
An electric floor polisher.
Politburo.
Politburo.
Polite.
Polite.
She's always very polite.
Polite, well-behaved children.
A clear but polite request.
We left the party as soon as it was polite to do so. It's not polite to talk with your mouth full.
While they ate, they made polite conversation about the weather.
Jan expressed polite interest in Edward's stamp collection. I know Ian said he liked her singing, but he was only being polite.
You can't use words like that in polite company.
Can I help you? She asked politely.
Politic.
Politic.
It would not be politic to ignore the reporters.
Political.
Political.
Education is now a major political issue.
A time of political and social change. The U.S. has two main political parties.
The UN is seeking a political solution rather than a military one.
Political jokes. The workers struggle for political power.
A purely political decision.
The appointment was given to Wellington mainly for political reasons.
Most students aren't very political.
Funding of the health service has become a political football.
Political Action Committee.
Political Action Committee.
Political asylum.
Political asylum.
Refugees were seeking political asylum in Britain.
No country would grant him political asylum.
Political correctness.
Political correctness.
Political correctness has had an impact on the language people use to describe women.
Political economy.
Political economy.
Political geography.
Political geography.
Politically.
Politically.
Women were becoming more politically active.
A politically sensitive issue.
Politically, raising the minimum wage is good for the Democrats.
Politically correct.
Politically correct.
Politically correct textbooks.
Politically incorrect.
Politically incorrect.
Politically incorrect jokes.
Political machine.
Political machine.
The Chicago mayor's political machine.
Political prisoner.
Political prisoner.
Political science.
Political science.
Politician.
Politician.
Politicians who are trying to get the minority vote.
A British Labour politician.
The office politician.
Politicize.
Politicize.
The Olympic Games should not be politicized.
He became politicized during his years in prison.
Abortion is a highly politicized issue.
Politicking.
Politicking.
The politicking at the party conference.
Politico.
Politico.
A slick politico.
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 Politico-economic factors.
Politics.
Politics.
A good understanding of politics in China.
Modern American politics.
Politics have always interested Anita.
Brooke's been involved in city politics since college. The president should stand above party politics. Flynn retired from politics in 1986.
Her father's trying to enter politics.
Smith went into politics in his early 20s. I'm tired of dealing with all the office politics.
Her art examines sexual politics.
The politics of race and class at American universities. The politics of race and class at American universities.
I assume her politics must be fairly conservative.
Tom is studying for a degree in politics.
Polity.
Polity.
Polka.
Polka.
Polka dot.
Polka dot.
A white scarf with red polka dots.
A polka dot dress.
Poll.
Poll.
A recent poll found that 80% of Californians support the governor.
Polls indicate that education is the top issue with voters.
Labour is ahead in the polls.
The latest public opinion poll showed that 25% of us consider ourselves superstitious.
A poll conducted by USA Today.
A poll on eating habits. A poll of 1,000 people.
10 million voters went to the polls.
Labour won the election with 40% of the poll.
The result of the poll won't be known until around midnight.
The polls will close in an hour.
18% of the women we polled said their husbands had a drinking problem.
Labour polled just 4% of the vote.
Pollard. Pollard.
Pollarded limes.
Pollen.
Pollen.
Pollen count.
Pollen count.
The pollen count was high yesterday.
Pollinate.
Pollinate.
Flowers pollinated by bees.
Polling.
Polling.
Polling started at 8 o'clock this morning.
Polling booth.
Polling booth.
Polling day.
Polling day.
Polling station.
Polling station.
Pollster.
Pollster.
Poll tax.
Poll tax.
Pollutant.
Pollutant.
New regulations will reduce hazardous air pollutants.
A dumping ground for toxic pollutants.
Industrial pollutants in the lake.
Pollute.
Pollute.
Beaches polluted by raw sewage.
The factory pollutes the air and water.
The island has been seriously polluted by a copper mine.
The rivers had been polluted with aluminium.
An artist spiritually polluted by money and fame.
Violence on television is polluting the minds of our children.
Polluted.
Polluted.
One of the most polluted areas in the world.
The
project's aim is to clean up polluted land.
The lake is seriously polluted.
Polluter.
Polluter.
The polluter should pay for the cost of the clean-up. A list of Canada's worst polluters.
Pollution.
Pollution.
California's tough anti-pollution laws.
Air pollution from traffic fumes.
The costs of pollution control must be considered.
A plan to reduce pollution.
The effects of industrial pollution on the population.
The chemicals have been identified as a source of pollution.
Pollyanna.
Pollyanna.
Polo.
Polo.
Polo neck.
Polo neck.
A polo neck sweater. Polo shirt.
Polo shirt.
Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
Polly. Polly.
Pulley.
Polly.
Polysyllabic.
Polyclinic.
Polyclinic.
Polyester.
Polyester.
A blue polyester shirt.
Polyethylene.
Polyethylene.
Polygamy.
Polygamy.
Polygamous societies.
Polyglot.
Polyglot.
A polyglot population.
Polygon.
Polygon.
Polygraph.
Polygraph.
The suspect was given a polygraph test.
Polymath.
Polymath.
Polymer.
Polymer.
Polymorphous.
Polymorphous.
Polynomial.
Polynomial.
Polynomial equations.
Polyp.
Polyp.
A coral polyp.
Polyphony.
Polyphony.
Polypropylene.
Polypropylene.
Polysemous.
Polysemous.
Polystyrene.
Polystyrene.
Polysyllabic.
Polysyllabic.
Polytechnic.
Polytechnic.
Baltimore Polytechnic Institute.
Polytheism.
Polytheism.
Polythene.
Polythene.
Polytunnel. Polytunnel.
Polyunsaturated.
Polyunsaturated.
Polyurethane.
Polyurethane.
Pomade.
Pomade.
Pomander.
Pomander.
Pomegranate.
Pomegranate.
Pummel.
Pommel.
Pommel horse.
Pommel horse.
Pummel.
Pommel horse.
Pommy. Pommy.
Pomp.
Pomp.
The Queen's birthday was celebrated with great pomp and ceremony.
Or the pomp and circumstance of a treaty signing.
Pom-pom.
Pom-pom.
Pompous.
Pompous.
He seems rather pompous.
The book's pompous style.
Ponce. Ponce.
He's been poncing about all day.
Poncho.
Poncho.
Poncy. Poncy.
Pond.
Pond.
My cousin's from across the pond.
Ponder.
Ponder.
He continued to ponder the problem as he walked home.
The university board is still pondering over the matter.
Jay stood still for a moment, pondering whether to go or not.
Ponderous.
Ponderous.
An elephant's ponderous walk.
A ponderous and difficult book. The system, though ponderous, works.
Pond scum.
Pond scum.
He's lower than pond scum.
Pong.
Pong.
An awful pong in the fridge.
Pontiff.
Pontiff.
Pontifical.
Pontifical.
Pontificate.
Pontificate.
Politicians are always pontificating about education.
Pontoon.
Pontoon.
Pontoon bridge.
Pontoon bridge.
Pony trekking.
Pony trekking.
Pony.
Pony. Pony.
All investors had to pony up a minimum of $5,000.
Pony trekking.
Pony trekking. Poo.
Poo.
Pooch.
Pooch.
Poodle.
Poodle.
Puff.
Poof.
Then poof, she was gone.
Puffy.
Poofy.
A blouse with big, poofy sleeves.
Pooh.
Pooh.
Pooh, you can't finish that paper by tomorrow.
Pooh bar.
Poobah.
The poobahs of the technology industry.
Poo-poo.
Poo-poo.
He poo-pooed herbal remedies at first.
Pool.
Pool.
They have a nice pool in their backyard.
A shallow pool suitable for children.
Pools of water with tiny fish in them.
Mosquitoes breed in stagnant pools of water.
A guard found him lying in a pool of blood.
A pool of light formed by the street lamp above. We went to the pub and played pool. A pool of light formed by the street lamp above. We went to the pub and played pool.
A pool of talented applicants to choose from.
The region has a large and talented labour pool.
Both partners put money into a common pool.
I do the pools sometimes.
Dad won £40 on the pools.
The office basketball pool.
Investors agreed to pool their resources to develop the property.
The students worked together, pooling their knowledge.
Pool hall.
Pool hall.
Pool room.
Pool room.
Poolside.
Poolside.
A poolside bar.
We met down at the poolside.
Poop.
Poop.
Dan pooped out about halfway through the race. Is Bill coming along? Nah, he's pooping out on us.
The laptop's battery pooped out after only 2 hours.
Poop deck.
Poop deck.
Pooped.
Pooped.
I was really pooped by the end of the day.
Pooper scooper. Poo-poo.
Poo-poo.
Pooped.
Pooh bar.
The poobahs of the technology industry.
Poo-poo.
Poo-poo.
He poo-pooed herbal remedies at first.
Pool.
Pool.
Poo-poo.
Poo-poo.
Poop sheet.
Poop sheet.
Poor.
Poor.
Her family were so poor they couldn't afford to buy her new clothes.
An area where poor people lived.
One of the poorest countries in the world.
A poor part of Chicago. My grandparents grew up dirt poor.
Many of the families are desperately poor.
It's the government's responsibility to help the poor. Tax relief for the working poor.
The soil in this area is very poor.
Poor rates of pay.
He blames himself for the team's poor performance.
The jacket was of very poor quality.
Her hearing is poor, so speak fairly loudly.
Poor kid. He's had a rough day. You poor thing, you've had a hard time of it, haven't you?
Poor old Ted was sick for weeks. A poor public speaker. He's poor at sports.
My parents are both in rather poor health.
The country is poor in natural resources. McLean won easily, and Benson was a poor second.
The Socialists came a poor second with 26.5% of the vote.
He was the poor man's Elvis Presley. Herring is the poor man's salmon.
Theatre musicians tend to be the poor relations of the musical profession. Theatre musicians tend to be the poor relations of the musical profession.
Poop. Poop deck.
Pooped. Pooper scooper.
Pooper scooper.
Poo-poo.
Poor boy.
Poor boy.
Poorhouse.
Poorhouse.
If Jimmy keeps spending like this, he's going to end up in the poorhouse. Poorly.
Poorly.
Jana's doing poorly in school.
Poorly educated workers.
The article was poorly written.
Matt's wife's been very poorly.
Poorly off.
Poorly off.
Mr. Pooter.
Pooter.
Pop.
Pootle.
Poodle.
Pop.
Pop.
The top button popped off my shirt.
The ball popped out of Smith's hands and onto the ground.
The egg cracked open and out popped a tiny head.
The lid popped open and juice spilled all over the floor.
Why don't you pop by the next time you're in town?
I need to pop into the drugstore for a second.
Could you pop round to the shop for some bread?
I'll just pop these cookies into the oven.
Barry popped his head round the door to say hello.
The wood sizzled and popped in the fire.
A balloon popped.
All at once an idea popped into her head. Hasn't Bill popped the question yet?
If you say that again, I'll pop you one.
Here, pop on your pajamas and then we'll read a story.
Pop the kettle on, would you?
I didn't mean to say it like that, it just popped out.
Click here, and a list of files will pop up.
Her name keeps popping up in the newspapers.
A new pop record.
A pop star.
A pop festival.
The pop of a champagne cork.
The balloon went pop.
A bottle of pop. Can you get me a pop while you're up?
When you're a professional footballer, you expect people to take a pop at you now and again.
Tickets for the show are $100 a pop. A Pops concert. The Boston Pops Orchestra.
Pop.
Pop art.
Pop art.
Popcorn.
Popcorn.
Pop culture.
Pop culture.
Hope.
Pope.
The Pope will visit El Salvador this year.
Pope John the 23rd.
Do you think they'll win? Is the Pope Catholic?